All right. Welcome to Exposing Sierra Leone, your weekly dive into the issues, news, and people shaping Sierra Leone and the diaspora. Each week, join us as we engage with professionals, journalists, and various guests, or sometimes just myself and my usual co-hosts, to explore ways to propel the country forward. From in-depth discussions to enlightening interviews, we're here to uncover the stories that matter most and the businesses that matter most. Tune in and be part of the conversation as we work together to make a positive impact on Sierra Leone's future. Today, it is just me, and we're doing the interview today. Ed Meyer is unable to join, but she will be joining us hopefully in the coming weeks. But in the meantime, I'm going to be interviewing Andrew Barrie. He is the founder and CEO of Poyo, African palm wine. It's a pioneering brand bridging the rich tradition of African palm wine to the global market, or bringing it to the global market. With over 20 years in the food and beverage industry, including leadership at Anheuser-Busch, he continues to combine deep expertise in manufacturing and brand development with a passion for cultural heritage and innovation. Today, we're going to be discussing the launch of Poyo via e-commerce in America, and that will be this Friday. So without further ado, let me bring on Andrew. There he is. Andrew, how you doing?
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate the time and effort. I appreciate all you do for Sierra Leone and Africa and diaspora in bringing our culture, our heritage, our tradition, and our values to the rest of the world. So thank you again.
Absolutely. You're welcome. And I'm glad we got a chance to meet. You know, we met. You were one of the vendors at the SLDIC, or the Sierra Leone Diaspora Investment Conference. You guys, as an audience, heard me talk about it last week, passionately expressing why it was worth the money, because so many people kept asking me, is it worth the money? It was. And built a significant network just in that short amount of time. And today we have one of the people who I met. So Andrew, you know, I gave a little bit of a background on you, but I think that there's probably a little bit that we can discuss in terms of, you know, how you got to this point. And I know we're going to be doing a full-on interview about your whole history when you get to Sierra Leone, when you're going to do some things that we're going to talk about later. But I did want to talk to you about your background. So you mentioned working at Anheuser-Busch. So your background is in the spirit space, is that right? And you've been in it, what, 20 years you mentioned?
Yeah, that's correct. So I've been in the beer and spirit space for about 20 years and in manufacturing overall. So straight out of college, as a matter of fact, when I was in college, I used to work as a quality analyst at the Anheuser-Busch factory in Merrimack, New Hampshire.
Okay.
And I had the ability there to learn and understand alcohol chemistry and fermentation processes, and I grew in that organization, and I became a full-time employee after college, obviously as a frontline manager, and became a senior leader in that organization. And I held several positions, from quality analysis to manufacturing, procurement, to new line introduction, engineering, as well as product development. So I'm bringing all of those experiences to bear when I deliver Poyo palm wine to the marketplace.
Awesome. So obviously, when anybody starts a business, right, one of the questions that people always ask is, why is this person uniquely qualified to start this business? So one side of it is your professional background. Let's talk about the other side of it. So what is palm wine? The general category for those who are unaware.
So palm wine is probably one of the oldest alcohol beverages in the history of mankind, and I say that statement boldly, right? And you can go back to the Sumerians and the introduction of beer and fermentation. Okay. But we know, not just in Africa, but in Asia and South America, men and women have been climbing palm trees, tapping it, extracting the sweet sap of that tree, allowing it to ferment naturally, and drink it as alcohol. So palm wine's got about 60 different names throughout the world, depending on what region you're in.
Okay.
So it is a very old and traditional beverage. And one of the things that always intrigued me in the beer space, as I look at everything that's available, right? From beer to Mexican brands to European brands to South American brands to everything else, it's why can't we? Why isn't palm wine available? What's the old back? What's causing this, probably the oldest of all the beverages, not being available commercially in the marketplace? So that always intrigued me, and I was very curious about finding out the why, and to understand what I can do to bring that product to the marketplace.
Okay, and let's talk about palm wine in Sierra Leone in particular, because I've had some many moons ago. I have some friends obviously who love their palm wine. And so can we talk about like what it is in Sierra Leone, how it's made, how do people access it, all of that kind of stuff?
So in Sierra Leone, it is it's a very dynamic process. You either go to the source, which is where the palm is tapped and fermented, and you drink it right there, or you find what they call a poyo buffer in one of the driving junctions, right? And you hang out there and you drink and consume it. So all those are great options, but you begin to understand the challenges, right? Sure. The reason why people have to go to the source is because palm wine has a very dynamic fermentation process, meaning, in most fermentation for alcohol, which is beer, liquor, wine, or whatever, the fermentation is very controlled. You have a yeast strain, which is known, understood, and so you can control the flavor and the aroma and of the product. Palm wine is fermented by wild yeast, and there's a lot of literature out there from many universities have tried to study the dynamics of wild yeast. It's a very different organism to control, and no one has been able to control it so far. So being able to bring that product from that junction into a bar is a challenge, because 24 hours later it becomes very sour and it becomes vinegar.
I see.
So you have to go to the source to drink it. And this is true throughout the world. You have to go to the source to drink it. Otherwise, you won't be able to enjoy it as much as you did when you went there. So what I've attempted to bridge all these years is, how do I take that experience, that aroma, that feeling, that taste, the color of the product, and deliver it to the consumer in their living room, in their bar, at the stadium, wherever they choose to enjoy it, and have the same experience as they will at the junction place.
Awesome. And there is a culture around that, but that limits the shelf life, as you mentioned. And so really quickly, I just want to shout out a few people before we get to the next part, because we do have a new member. Sierra Cam is a new member of the channel, so shout out to him. DJ Nurse Savage is here. And then there's a question from Zachary Polk. Would love to try. How can I order? Jumped a little bit ahead, but the question is, and we can speak to that now, and then I'll get back to my next question. How can people order?
So we are launching on Shopify this Friday coming. We're only producing a limited quantity, 5,000 bottles. So you have to go pre-order now if you want to make sure you get one of those beautiful looking Poyo bottles. So if you go to Shopify and just poyopalmwine.com at Shopify, you'll be able to order your product.
poyopalmwine.com. And so in Sierra Leone, they call it Poyo, right?
Yes.
And so, I would say, so what's interesting is, as you mentioned, you learned all about manufacturing, supply chain, etc., fermentation. So you figured out how to take it from that maybe 48-hour shelf life, which normally turns it into vinegar, and now you're bottling it and you're able to distribute it to the masses. If I open a bottle of palm wine, or somebody opens it, how do they continue to maintain its flavor and its long-lasting quality if we know that in its original state it only has 48 hours? Now you're bottling it and making it available. How do we make sure that it still continues to stay in that same flavorful aroma and state that it's in when you first open the bottle?
So without getting into the details of the chemistry and that's involved in this process, what we did was be able to identify a yeast strain that is that's robust enough to be able to ferment the sugars from the sap to produce the same flavor and aroma that you see. The color is consistent, so anybody that's drank palm wine before will recognize this color, as you probably attest to. You didn't try it, but you witnessed several people trying it
Yes.
at the event, and they were all completely just brought back to a point in their life when they tried Poyo, and it's like, oh my God, this is exactly what I tried 10, 15, 20 years ago. So we've been able to identify, we work with several universities, University of Nebraska, Ohio State University Food Processing Lab, to identify the yeast strain that will give us the color and aroma and the stability to make sure that if you open your palm wine today, a year from now, probably we haven't done 2-3 years yet, but probably 2 years from now, it will look and taste the same as you try from a palm tree.
Nice. And so you just put it in the fridge do you keep it cool like you do with other kinds of wines? How do people drink it?
So it's best drank if chilled.
Yep.
But it's a shelf-stable product. You can leave it on the counter and try it. But if you really want to enjoy it, say chill it before you try it, and you'll really have a great experience.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, I can attest to the fact that everybody who tasted did go. There was a moment where you could see them going back to their time in Sierra Leone and the last time they had Poyo. And of course, you ran out of bottles, right? Everybody was ordering, and you had to make it so that other people can order. People were upset that you ran out. So that's a good problem to have, right? So I can attest to that. I saw it before my own very eyes. You had like one of those thermostats that had a little bit in there. So you're giving people like a small taste of it. And everybody who tasted some really had all good things to say. So there's a question here from one of the viewers. That's Mary is asking, how does it taste and what is the alcohol percentage?
So how does it taste? So it's got a little bit of a sour note, a sweet sour note, right? And alcohol wise, it's 8% alcohol. So we give you a lot more alcohol than your traditional Poyo palm wine will deliver to you. So a palm wine that's tapped from a tree usually gives you between 4 and 5% alcohol. We're giving you about 8% alcohol because we really want you to have a great time as you enjoy the product. But it gives you a unique, it's got a little bit of a tart, coconutty, sweet and sour note all combined together. But if you've never tried palm wine, as several people that tried it, that have never tried it before, it's a completely different experience than anything you've tried in the marketplace.
Yeah, and to that effect, how would you best categorize it against some of these other spirits that people are used to, right? You got Puerto Rican rum, you got London gin, you even have Indian gin, right? I've had Bombay Sapphire, for example. You have Russian vodka, right? And then you have Italian wine or Napa Valley wine. So where would you say this fits in those categories of spirits?
So this kind of speaks to some of the challenges we've been having with palm wine, right? Because when you apply to the federal agencies for alcohol permit, you have to fit into one of those categories. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Palm wine doesn't. It's different. Okay. So we spent about 6 months to a year arguing back and forth with the federal agencies about what category this product belongs to. Okay. Because if you look at a traditional wine, it's made from a grape and it's fermented to become whatever it is. So a red wine, a white wine. So from a red grape, a white grape, whatever. Okay. Yeah. If you're looking at one of those vodka, Bombays, whatever, they're distilled. Okay. So you get sugar cane, and you distill it and you get alcohol. Palm wine is nature. It comes from a tree and you tap it and you get a sugar sauce. that
Sure.
becomes alcohol. So trying to explain that to somebody that's never had palm wine before was really very challenging. And I had to write several explanations to the federal agencies to explain exactly what it is that we're trying to bring to the marketplace and what category it belongs in. So palm wine rightfully belongs in a category of its own because of its age and tradition and all the values that are associated with the consumption of this product.
Got it. So really, it's a brand new category, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, and that's interesting. And I what I've noticed too is, as I mentioned, all of those types of spirits, you almost always mention the location in which it's from, right? I
Mhm.
remember Grey Goose is from France, right? And thinking about all of these different spirits and where they're from, and I think what's great about this is that you can now say we have something from our region that can be exported, and it is, although as you mentioned, it's found many parts of the world, and it is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, spirits in history. I think that this is something that we can potentially brand ourselves, or at least be one of those who branded you really may just shepherd in a whole new revolution in the spirit industry. Now, there was a couple of questions on where they can get it and how much it costs, what the percentage of alcohol was. Um, I have a question just in terms of the bottles and how you're packaging it. So we see two bottles here on screen, and so they're packaged in what looks like a wine bottle, right? But if I remember correctly, you have other packaging that you're planning to come out with too, as well, right?
Yeah, yes. So Joe, so if for the folks that have been following us for the last 2 years, we've kind of evolved right into the
Okay.
presentation of the product. We start with a white bottle that showed the white products in there, and we learned from that as we brought that to the marketplace. Okay, it doesn't age very well because of the exposure to sunlight
Mm,
and everything else. And when we went through our product development with a professional company, these balls actually look cool and pretty great.
yeah,
I gotta admit, they look pretty cool.
they
But
do.
one of the things we're trying to do is pollo is consumed in a bamboo cup in Africa. So if you go to one of those pollo baffers and you sat down, the pollo in a bamboo cup and you consume it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we're actually working on delivering a product in a bamboo cup that you can enjoy, and so get the full experience of enjoying the product beyond just a wine bottle.
There it is. That's awesome. And just real quick, I want to shout out Zachary Polk, who just gifted 5 authentic African memberships. So shout out to Zachary Polk for the 5 gifted. Thank you, Zachary. Sister Camilla can become a member. A couple people can become a member because of that. And then there's another question from Samba Barrie, who's asking, what about non-alcoholic palm wine for folks such as myself?
So you and I had this conversation a little
We
while
did.
ago because when we talked, you did mention to me that you don't consume alcohol, and the request for non-alcohol has been coming from so tribally, right? I'm Fulani, so
Mhm.
I'm full of my tribe, and most of my tribesmen don't consume alcohol.
Right.
And when I reached out to them when I was launching the product, that was the first feedback I got. I was like, "Hey, we don't drink alcohol, man. Are you gonna make a non-alcoholic version?" And some of my suppliers as well requested that. So yes, we did launch a non-alcoholic version that's available on the Shopify website that you can purchase, so that you can equally. So pollo. So if you tap pollo from a palm tree
Mm-hmm.
and you drank it on the first day, that you tap it immediately, it is non-alcoholic because it has not been fermented.
Right.
You get to enjoy the sweet nectar and the juices of the palm tree right there. If you allow it to sit there for about 24 hours to 48 hours, then it becomes fermented and becomes alcohol.
I see.
So what we're giving you is the fresh mix of the sap without fermentation. That's a non-alcoholic version. And then obviously what you see here will be the alcoholic version. But yes, you can order the non-alcoholic version on the website right now.
There it is. So that being said, I think maybe it makes some sense to kind of share what that looks like for those of us who um, are visual, who need sometimes a visual aid. So I will say, very slick website, very nice branding. Obviously, you do this, right? So I will have to say, many brands that are first launching, it's hard to find them in a way that looks this nice. So when you first go to the page, by the way, you do have to say that you're above a certain age, and then you have the 750 milliliter, then you have the trio pack, and then you have the non-alcoholic version right here. So, and it says non-alcoholic right on the bottle, so it's very clear and easy to see. So yeah, and this is what as you mentioned, is poyopalmwine.com. And all of the information is here. The three that are available here. So you can buy the 3-pack, the 1, and the non-alcoholic one. So you call this Poyo Zero. Anything you want to mention about anything here that I'm sharing on screen?
No, this is really so. One of the things we really want to do is elevate the brand and elevate our tradition, right? As Africans, I think one of the things we've always done is undersold ourselves. Yep. And our tradition and our value. And what we really want to do is present this brand, which is a cultural heritage by itself, in a way that that values it, and so that folks can really not just enjoy it, but you can share with your friends from all over the world that this is my tradition, this is what I have to deliver to the world, it's what I bring into the world, it's how I present myself as a person, as a nation, as a culture, as a tradition. And this brand hopefully reflects that.
Absolutely. And to that point, I think one of the challenges we see a ton in specifically Sierra Leonean brands, but a lot of West African brands, is the quality is not as high as what you would anticipate from Western brands, right? And so, a lot of times you don't get as much, support from people in our community because of that. And so, or outside the community, right? And so I think it's really important to focus on branding. And I think you've done a great job. So I did want to just give you props on that. So a couple of questions here that came up. So Maggie's asking, what about the different flavors of palm wine, like strawberry or mango?
Yeah, so we've actually sampled Poyo honey, and strawberry, and different brands. So the intent here is to get the original brand out to the marketplace, and once that takes traction and folks begin to enjoy, we can begin to experiment and offer different flavors. But those are definitely in the pipeline as far as offerings. And once we get the original brand out, those will be coming shortly.
Yeah, so Yasmin's asking about the strawberry flavor, but you've already mentioned that. And then there was a question here about the non-alcoholic. So the flavors can be in non-alcoholic and with alcohol. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And then there was a question about the cooking wine. Is that if it's still used for cooking wine, does that happen for folks?
I've never tried as a cooking wine. I'm not saying it's not. You can definitely experiment with it and see. I know people have cooked with coconut in the past.
Sure.
Right? There's a hint of coconut in there. You can try it, but I've never tried it as a cooking wine. But if you do try it as cooking wine and it comes off really well, please share with us so we can get it out to our audience as well, so they can try it as a cooking wine.
Okay, and we have another question from IG from the Sierra Leoneans Killing It Instagram, and that question is, let me just pull it up here, and it's from Kadia Hart, and her question is, as a proud African, what are the events where I should incorporate Poyo into my celebration?
So to answer the question, I'm going to go back a little bit, right? So one of the things that actually inspired me about creating this product, I read an article probably some 20 years ago. I'm trying to find this article, and it was about a Nigerian family, and I believe in the Yoruba tradition, whenever there's a marriage, palm wine is required to be present as part of the occasion. obviously they were in America, in California, and they couldn't find palm wine, and they were
Sure.
scrambling to find palm wine. They ended up using Concord grapes to grace the occasion, which was definitely very devastating for them. So if you go back and read in folklore or all African folklores, you can see palm wine is it's a beverage that is required for birth, marriages, celebrations, and ceremonies that we value as part of our tradition. So it's definitely a mainstay and a very required product of a tradition.
So weddings, basically any special occasion, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. It's like jollof rice, right? Jollof rice and palm wine.
Exactly, they go together.
Okay. There, that's the palm wine pairing is with jollof rice.
Yeah.
Okay, so so there was a question here about the can one. You mentioned that is that it, and I can't remember if you answered this directly or if I asked this question, but we mentioned the different formats that you're going to be selling this in. You're starting with these bottles first, and then
Right.
you're moving to cans as well? Is that right?
Well, the cans were a special package,
Okay.
paid homage to Sierra Leone and Sierra Leone tradition.
Sure.
It was a one-time offering that we did, and we'll do it again at some point. So one of the requests we received from several of our customers. So, for example, like Liberian Independence Day that just went by,
Sure.
we received a request from Liberia to do a Liberia Independence Day can of Poyo. It was kind of late in the game; we couldn't pull it off. But we're going to be doing Nigerian Independence Day, which is coming in October. We're going to be doing a specialty can for Nigeria for the Independence Day. And so for the major nations out there, Nigeria, Cameroon, Ghana, Sierra Leone, our friends, we can't forget our friends in India because they consume a lot of palm wine as well. We're going to be crafting special cans for them to grace their occasions.
Got it. So there's a question about a wine cooler version of it. So Hits 23ville is asking, is there any, I guess, potential for a wine cooler version in the future?
So if we're talking about the same thing, right? A wine cooler is really a cocktail version of a wine.
Right.
Okay. So if you're taking, for example, like a vodka, or Bacardi or whatever it is, and you mix it with a beverage, it becomes a wine cooler. Palm wine is already that. And the flavors we're going to be doing for you, the honey flavor, the strawberry flavor, will deliver that to you. So absolutely, yes, there is a plan for that delivery in the future.
And I think the specifics was about maybe a lower price point, entry point, like for single bottles, I guess, at smaller sizes versus the larger bottles. So I guess that's the answer to that question, right?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, excellent. So let's see. It looks like so Hitsville's happy to hear that. Eventually, that's coming. So I think we've talked a lot about just from the way that it's gone from 48 hours to longer, which I think is a huge hurdle to get over. The regulations that you've gone through with the federal government to make sure that you can even sell it. You have the website up and running, and it's going to launch this coming Friday. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah,
this coming Friday. So literally, 5 days from today, this will become available. How long did it get you to get to this point, right? You've mentioned that you've done other things before. You've done limited edition cans, and you've sold this before. You've tried different flavors. What was the process like? How long did it take you to get to this point?
So in totality, I'll say about 15 years.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
About 15 years to get to this point because, like I described in the very beginning, right? The process of fermentation of palm wine is very challenging.
Sure.
Several big companies have tried to do it and they've failed. And you can buy palm wine at a local store, whether it's Emu or one of those brands, and you can try it. You can just see the again. I don't mean to I'm not trying to say anything bad about those brands, right?
Sure.
I'm just saying it's very challenge. The challenge of delivering the product, the way it's consumed from the pantry, has been very challenging for a lot of people.
Sure.
What I've been working on for the last 15 years is trying to find that yeast strain that will produce that flavor, the aroma, and the look of palm wine that's consistent with what you would drink from pantry. And
Mm.
so, 15 years in total. The last 3 years, I've been more vigorous in terms of bringing it to the marketplace. So we brought it to the marketplace 2 years ago. We've had to rework some of the regulations. And the alcohol industry is very challenging in the US. If no one's available is aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot make this product and bring it to a store right away. It doesn't work that way. It's a 3-tier system. You have the manufacturer, you have the distributor, and you have the retailer.
Yep.
So, and every state in the US has different laws. So even though I obtain a federal license, I have to in turn get different licenses from every 50 states in the US, and they'll have different rules and regulations. So the dynamics of getting all of that in place is really, really very difficult, very expensive, not to mention. But the last 3 years, I've been very vigorous in terms of trying out different products and different packages to understand what resonates with the customer, what will preserve the shelf life of the product and make sure it tastes very well. Because even though you do lab analysis and all that stuff, once the product gets in the marketplace, on the shelf in the supermarket, where there's different sunlight, there's different environment, different hair, people walking back and forth all the time, it behaves differently. So you have to understand all of that. So the last 3 years has been really that work, trying to understand what packages, what presentation would deliver the best value for the product. So so 15 and 3. So 15 in totality, 3 years of vigorous activity to get to the marketplace.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, that's quite a substantial amount of market research and really making sure that you have the right product market fit. And then you're dealing with a consumable product, right? So understanding how to preserve it and maintain its quality. So all of those things require a lot of work. And as I mentioned before, you seem uniquely suited to be able to have a business like this, considering your background working at the Anheuser-Busch plant and working your way up. So there are a couple of questions that are coming from IG from Soulful Ridge. They asked, how long is the fermentation process? I think you've already answered this, but just because they came in late, if you have an answer to that, they did ask that specific question.
So the fermentation process is about 30 days. So from the time you get the sugar and you introduce the yeast, it takes about 30 days to achieve the alcohol and the flavor you're looking for.
Got it. And is that how it looks generally, or is that your process because of how you're doing this with a different yeast? Like, is this the same process in Salon, or is it different?
So what we've done is we've got the sap from the tree.
Yep.
And we're using our yeast strain, which is controlled to produce the palm wine. So if you drank it in Sierra Leone, it will look like this. Or anywhere in the world, if you drank anywhere in the world, it will look like this. You get a white milky beverage, and then it will taste just like this.
Right. But on the continent, right, it's like 48 hours. Is that what I remember you saying? Or that's how long? That's the shelf life.
Yeah, you got to drink it in 48 hours, otherwise it becomes very sour.
Yep, got it. Okay, and so so that was one of their questions. The other question they had is the palm wine made with preservatives as well?
No preservatives at all. 0 preservatives. So we got the palm sap and no preservatives.
There's a Nigerian asking, do you supply to Nigeria?
So as you and I have discussed, there's an ongoing effort to build a factory in Africa. I think that's really critical for not just for myself, but for development of the continent overall. Right, we got to bring our skills, our knowledge back to the continent to make sure people understand a manufacturing process, how to build factories, which is really the core development component of any community, of any society, right? You look at the Western world, they've in China, they've developed because of manufacturing. And that's the one thing we're lacking in Africa is manufacturing. We buy everything. We got to start making stuff ourselves in the continent. So we have a plan to build a factory in Sierra Leone. And once that factory is built, our intent is to supply the whole of Africa. So Nigeria, really, I know when you look at it geographically, especially if you live in the US, Nigeria is only about 400 and some miles away. That's a drive from New York to North Carolina, right? Or New York to Florida, something like that, right? So Nigeria, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Guinea, they're not really that far away. So those are really prime spots for us to be able to supply our product and be able to bring this product to those places.
Nice. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that all come to fruition. Being able to be a manufacturer in Sierra Leone and exporting from Sierra Leone a finished good. That is not something we see too often in Sierra Leone. Raw goods get exported, get manufactured and or refined, and get re-imported back to us at higher prices.
Exactly.
It's always a problem that I have with what we do in Sierra Leone. So I'm happy to hear that. Now, there was a couple of questions. Frank has a question, and then son of Bintu, my cousin, has a question. But first, let's get with Frank's question, and then we'll get to the son of Bintu's question. So are the ingredients on the bottle? They're asking the question again. What's the alcohol percentage, and are the bottles plastic or glass or both?
All right. So the bottles are glass. So let's get out of the way. So the alcohol content is 8%. We will be offering 11% alcohol, hopefully around Christmas time. So if you intend to get very well intoxicated, we'll accommodate your requirements. But this version is 8% alcohol. So for wine, unless you add in additives, right? Which is, for example, some of the wines will have different spices and stuff to the product. Unless you add in additives, there's no requirement to disclose your ingredients. Our ingredients are very simple. It's a sap of a palm tree and yeast. And I can tell you biologically and chemically what the microorganisms are in the sap of a palm tree. But that's not the ingredients, right? The ingredients is salt, sugar, stuff you buy off the shelf. So we don't use any of that. So there's no ingredient disclosure on our bottles.
That is awesome. The fact that you don't need to have an ingredient disclosure shows that it is only 2 ingredients. Yeah. So, and you guys know the United States is now very serious about this. So this is really great to hear. Okay, so there was a question from Son of Bintu, Mr. Kai himself. He says, are there any investment opportunities and what are your plans for scaling and long-term distribution? So let's start with the investment opportunities. And I want to share this on the screen because you do have a place for investors on the website. So I'm glad he asked that. So I clicked on that and you have the information here. So I'm all the people who want to know more about this can go to poyopalmwine.com and click on the investors tab at the top. But if you want to give some insights into investment opportunities into the brand, and then we can talk about your plans for scaling and distribution long term.
So if you're involved in business, you will know one of the great enablers in the Western world to build and scale is the ability to bring in investors, right? Whether it's through the stock market or through private equity or any of that. It allows you, yes, I can do this all by myself to a certain degree, and I can bootstrap it. It's just a little bit slower and takes a little bit longer of time. And when you bring people on, you bring on both knowledge and capital to be able to enhance the brand itself. So yes, we're looking for investors. The information is there. We're looking for the right kind of investors that would both allow us to accelerate our scale and stay true to our cultural heritage and be able to grow the brand in a way that's consistent with our values. As far as the second question was in regards to?
The second question was in regards to scaling Sorry. So it was, what are your plans on scaling and distribution long term?
So let's start with scaling. So scaling, obviously, we want to be in all 50 states. Our first approach is e-commerce, obviously, because that's easy for us to manage.
Sure.
The second approach is getting to distribution houses, and that's where we need the African community, right? Because the distribution network in the US is controlled by a few families. It's very tight knit. It's very old school and old boy. And when we present our brands to them, we need marketing data to support that. We have a support of a large community that wants this product. So the areas where we have large diaspora population, we need those folks to represent themselves and be able to say, we want our product, right? Instead of getting a Mexican brand, instead of getting a Brazilian brand, instead of getting a Puerto Rican brand, we want an African brand in our shops. And the way to do that is to get on our website, like us, follow us, comment us. So when we go in front of these folks, we can say, here's the marketing data. Here's the analytics that show people in this area want this product. So get involved, get engaged, and that will allow us, that will give us the ability to get in front of the distributors to be able to have the product in the marketplace. And scaling, obviously, we've talked about, having a factory in Sierra Leone.
Yep.
And for a brand that is as old as palm wine, it's a shame that it's not a recognizable product in the marketplace. And as people of as ethnic people, right, whether we're Africans, Indians, whatever we are, we really got to look at ourselves and say, what happened? This product that we've dragged since the beginning of the history of mankind, how come we can't find it on a shelf in the marketplace? Yet we can find a Mexican brand, a Puerto Rican brand, an European brand, a French brand sitting there, but yet something that's unique to us, that we've enjoyed and consumed all this time, we can't find it. So really, I hope this is a call to action for everyone that has that's tried, that's consumed, or their forefathers have tried and consumed this product, to make sure it gets represented adequately in the marketplace.
There it is. So, and I think that speaks to your point a bit. Maggie is saying, when will this be available on store shelves?
Yes. So that goes back to the point of the distributorship.
Sure.
And we really need to scale up our social media presence to be able to get in front of distributors. Be able to. So again, when you get in front of distributors, you're selling your product to them, right? And they sell to the marketplace.
Right.
And depending on how much they value what you bring to them, that will define the price points of what you can sell to them. So if I have 0 following and 0 engagement on social media, and I get in front of a wholesaler and say, hey, can you buy my wine for $19.99? They'll be like, no, I'll pay $6.99 for it, because there's no value to it. So right. we need the engagement from our community to attach the value to the product.
Got it. Well put. So a couple things. We have the Fatima Sise, aka Inside the Diaspora. She says, keep up the great work. And also Better Life Hypno says end-to-end production must be a way forward in Africa if Africa is to develop. So vertical integration, which is what you're doing once you have the factory. Okay, so Joe Harding is saying this should be imported and sold in bars and hotels in the country, in Sierra Leone in particular, which will bring competition to local tappers. Okay.
Well, I hope it doesn't bring competition to local tappers. What we want to do is empower the local tappers. Be able to bring value to what they do, right? Because in Africa, that's a challenge, right? Everything that we do is of very little value. We don't package our products and whatever we do in a manner that makes it that gives them more value. So we wanna be in a position where we can enable those tappers to earn more money from what they do, and bring and enable the farmers in Sierra Leone and Africa and wherever else to be able to grow more palm trees so you can have more income from that. But
Rising
I
tide.
agree with Joe's sentiment, absolutely.
Yeah, rising tide floats all boats, right? So Joe also says some of us can be sales vendors for products like this in Sierra Leone. So it already sounds like there's a demand for people to help sell it.
Go to the website, get connected. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Frank Johnson is asking the question that I think you addressed, but he may have joined late. So it's good to maybe answer this question again. What's the cost and size of a bottle in Sierra Leone in particular? I guess this is a question about Sierra Leone versus in the diaspora. Is there a difference in price?
So I can't answer that question right now, but I'll tell you that obviously we can't sell this for 19.99 in Sierra Leone. It'll be if I convert that, it'll be some millions of leons. So the packaging and the product will be measurable to the income standards in Sierra Leone. We want to price people out. One of the things we're working on critically is making sure we use packaging and product that is available in Sierra Leone, so that the cost is reflective of that dynamic. So yeah, Frank, I can't answer your question right now, but yes, there will be a different price point for Sierra Leone and Africa.
Great question, though, Frank. Sorry, I'm just charging my the TikTok device. Okay, so some other questions that I see that are coming up here. Okay, so this is another question about distribution. So you mentioned you're distributing via your site, but there is a question on TikTok Shop, Black Twitter, Amazon, Etsy. Are you thinking about promoting it there and or selling it in these places as well?
Yes. So we are. So again, the Shopify is the entering point, obviously, to get the product in the marketplace.
Sure.
We're already working on Amazon for the non-alcoholic brand. Again, because it's alcohol, there's a long lead time in the application process to get your brand on all those different websites. So yes, we're working on all those different avenues to get in front of everyone in the places where they go.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So I see. I'll check for any more questions. It looks like the questions have begun to slow down. So it sounds like you've answered all of them. I think. Is there anything? Excuse me. Sorry. Is there anything else that you want to say to the folks out there about Poyo and its launch coming up?
Yes. So great opportunity for us to deliver a brand to the world that reflects our tradition, our culture, and our values. And we don't always get that. So this October coming up, Poyo Palm Wine will be at the UN National Security Assembly, because Sierra Leone is will be hosting the Security Council in October, and palm wine will be one of the gifts that will be gifted to all the nations in the Security Council. So we are very proud of that endeavor and be part of that, right? And we want to make sure that this brand gets out there to the marketplace. So even if you don't drink alcohol, get on our website, get on our social media, like us, follow us, and make sure we promote the brand. If you do drink alcohol, if you have a friend or family that consume alcohol, go buy a product for yourself, gift it to someone, buy the zero alcohol version for yourself. But I keep emphasizing we're only producing 5,000 bottles for this run. So get in there now, pre-order your product, and make sure you reserve your absolutely fantastic bottle of Poyo Palm Wine.
There it is. You just answered that question that came from JKB 202501. They asked the production number. You said 5,000, right?
Yes.
So 5,000 is the current production number. So the faster you sell out, the sooner that you can get investors and more launch more. So everyone is just saying pre-order now. Teddy 1000777 says, I'm proud and will definitely be a supporter and consumer. Just people saying, being congratulatory and giving thumbs up. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else. I think that's everything. So again, can you remind everybody where to find, what's the website again?
So poyopalmwine.com. That will bring you straight to the Shopify. And on the Shopify website, there's a link to the Instagram, the TikTok page, and the Facebook page where you can get additional information about the culture and content. And one of the things we're trying to do is really educate folks about the culture of palm wine. So we're gonna be sharing stories about the entire culture of and making sure that for children or descendants of diaspora that have not had the opportunity, it is an opportunity to enjoy the culture of palm wine, that they get to see the history, understand it, and realize how much it reflects on everything that we do on a daily basis.
Absolutely. So people were telling me to drop the link. So there it is right there, poyopalmwine.com. So someone asked me to drop the link in the chat. There's the link in the chat. So you guys can go there and discover Pollo Palm Wine for yourselves. I will say this has been an absolute pleasure. You and I have spoken on a couple of occasions, have a wealth of knowledge about the spirits industry. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this business scales and what you're able to do with it. And of course, I'll be ordering my own version of the non-alcoholic, because that is where I am today. Some suggestions and recommendations being thrown out there. You should find a way to partner with the Ministry of Tourism so you can display as well to other countries during exhibitions. People got ideas for you. You know what, you guys, anybody who has ideas for the business, either put it in the comments after this video gets posted, or you can head over to poyopalmwine.com and you can actually submit your thoughts, questions, comments, suggestions directly to Andrew on his site. Okay, so it looks like you know what, there was a last question, and I think it's a fair one, because we are talking about the spirits industry, and this is a conversation that does come up when we're talking about other spirits. And so I think maybe we should bring this here. There was a question about any health benefits as a claim by wine, because some people will say doctors tell you to drink a glass of wine per day because of resveratrol and it's good for your heart health, which most doctors don't say that, but some who drink a lot of wine do. But what are your thoughts here on health benefits? Are there health benefit claims, anything to that nature? I don't even know if you can say that on a video like this.
No, we can. So
okay.
we don't make any claims on our label as far as health benefits.
Okay.
If you research health benefits of palm wine, like on Wikipedia or on Google, you will get several responses back as to reducing cholesterol, blood pressure, reducing anxiety, and so there's several claims out there. How substantiated they are or not, I cannot speak to that. But I know our forefathers have been drinking palm wine for a very long time, and they seem to be doing very well. So that's good enough for me. Hopefully it's good enough for you.
There it is. A couple more comments and questions before we go. Betsy Mana says, thank you. Mary says she just ordered. So you got an order, at least one order. And then here we have Sate Ann Lay says, do you already have approval for Europe or Germany? Would like to sell your product in Germany. That's what this person is saying.
So presently, we only sell and distribute in the US. We don't have agreements in Germany or Europe yet. Those are part of our forward-looking plans to make sure we get into other continents. I've received a lot of requests from England and France. So definitely that's something that's in the works to make sure we get the products out there.
All right. Now, we're going to wrap it up. Anybody who has any more questions, please go to poyopalmwine.com and submit your questions, comments, thoughts, concerns to directly to Andrew and his team, and they will get back to you. That's where you can go to pre-order as of today. But today, April, August 17th, and this will be live on this coming Friday. What's Friday's date? August 20 something, right? What is it? The 20 22nd. I don't even know what this Friday's date is. This Friday's date, let me pull that up. All right, the 22nd. Yes, so it will be live this Friday, the 22nd. For you to be
so the pre-order is available now.
Yeah.
Shipment dates on the 29th. So that'll be next Friday.
Okay, got it. So next Friday, the 29th. Yes. There it is. So pre-order is available now. Shipping starts on the 29th. You have some folks that have made their pre-orders already. So go to poyopalmwine.com to check it out. Andrew, I want to thank you again for taking the time. This was a great conversation, and I'm glad we got a chance to be the ones to kind of help you be a part of this process of announcing the launch. And, thank you to all who watched, who have engaged, who had some thoughts, questions, and comments. And those who gifted. So really quickly, just want to shout out Sierra Cam for becoming a new member. Thank you for becoming a YouTube member. And Zachary Polk, who had gifted 5 authentic African memberships. Without you guys, this thing does not go on. So really appreciate all of you and your support. And with that, thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, follow Polyo Palm Wine on all platforms. And we will see you guys all on the next live stream. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
No problem.